On June 18th at the Bread Shed in Manchester, Catch Pro Wrestling starts The Renaissance, featuring the long-awaited Red Belt title match between Lizzie Evo and Chantal Jordan. In Lizzie's first defense of her now epic reign, Chantal looked to have the match won, but for a foot under the ropes. It's been a long journey back to this point for Jordan, and she finally gets the one-on-one clash she's been looking for nearly 2 years. Will Lizzie's reign end just as it closes in on 700 days? Other talent featuring on the show will include Emerson Jane, Lana Austin, Rio, Ivy, Sapphire Reed, Lucy Sky, Debbie Dharma, Violet Vendetta, and more to be announced. June 18th at the Bread Shed, Manchester. Evo versus Jordan. Head to catchpw.bigcartel.com and use the code STARCAST for 10% off.
Hey, this is Kevin Kelly. Get ready for the latest episode of the Stardom Cast.
Hello guys and welcome to the Stardom Cast, your weekly audio source of all things World Wonder Ring Stardom. I'm your host, Rob Goodname, joined as ever by my good friend Matt Turner. Matt Turner, how the devil are you, sir?
I'm always good to hear from you, my friend. Always good talking to the friends and family of the Stardom Cast, talking about one of our favorite subjects to talk about, that would be Stardom. Hence, that's why we're on the Stardom Cast. And real quick, I just want to say thank you to the many people that reached out to me on social media and or via text message, wishing me a happy birthday this past weekend. I greatly appreciate it, and makes me feel good that so many of you care about little old Matt Turner over here.
No, I hope you had a good day. What did you get for your birthday, my friend?
I did. Well, it was, again, I'm so lucky because I was born in such a great family, and the family I married into is fantastic, as well as I have like 2 birthdays. So Friday the 19th was my actual birthday. So I kind of accidentally got myself a birthday gift. Didn't really even mean to. I went over to IVP Videos, which I know is a place you frequent from time to time. And I got the complete Stardom 2022 Blu-ray set, and it's I think 8 or 9 discs. And I just ordered it maybe about a week or so ago, and it came in the day before my birthday. And if you know 2 things about Stardom, single Stardom pay-per-view from 2022. So that means 84 pay-per-views on this Blu-ray set. And also one of my, I've said it before on the show a million times, and I'll stand by it. One of the greatest single years ever from any wrestle company was Stardom in 2022. So I wanted to have that collection on Blu-ray because I am a big fan of physical media. So I kind of got that for myself. And then I did post the pictures on my social media. And if you do not do social media and want to see these pictures, let me know, drop me a line. But Lily made me, I got some Lily art, which was probably in my 41 years on this planet, Rob, probably my favorite gifts that I ever got, to be perfectly honest. She she drew a picture of Tam Nakano and Julia in their gear from All-Star Grand Queendom. And I thought she absolutely knocked it out of the park like she usually does. And she put them on blank comic book covers. And I'm going to frame those and put them on my wall once I redo her art room, which is going to slowly turn into my podcast room. So did that. And then on Friday night, my parents took me out to my favorite pizza place, which is about an hour away from me, which is right around where they live. So it was nice. It was me, my parents, Amber, Lily, and my best friend, Jeff. So it was nice. Had some pizza, indulged in some adult beverages. And then on Saturday, my mother-in-law threw me a little mini party where she cooked her famous lasagna. So that was nice. And yeah, it was nice little 2 days there. And it was nice watching some Stardom from 2022 on fancy Blu-ray. So yeah, so like I accidentally got myself the gift, and then like I said, Lily absolutely knocked it out of the park with those drawings. So all in all, just a phenomenal weekend as per usual.
Yeah, I did see the images she put onto Twitter, and she has once again knocked it out of the park. They look bloody incredible. It's funny you should mention watching wrestling in HD and Blu-ray, because do you know what wasn't HD and Blu-ray? The Hana Kimura tribute show, and we are going to be talking about that very, very shortly.
What a segue, brother! Absolutely.
Oh, Matt Turner, I have got some things to say. But yeah, before we get into all of that, Matt, would you like to regale us, good sir, with what is going on in the Patreon sphere?
Absolutely. So this might be the longest segment of the show, and if there's something that you want to add in or something that I forgot, by all means, friend, tag yourself in, come in for the hot tag, and we'll rock and roll express double team this if need be. So this past week we released not one but two alternate commentaries. Rob and I did the alternate commentary to Hazuki challenging Arisa Hoshinki for the Wonder of Stardom Championship. Had an absolute ball, as always, doing the alternate commentary and going back and watching one of the best Wonder of Stardom matches in company history. And also, we dipped our toe in for the very first time some All Japan action as the Can-Am Express team of Furnace and Profit take on the team of Kikuchi and Kabashi. So that was the new thing that we did for the month of May, and that was, I thought, an absolute success. Had a blast doing that as well. And just yesterday, we recorded, which will be up on Monday and Tuesday. We recorded the alternate commentary of Mayu Iwatani taking on Momo Watanabe from the 2018 5-Star Grand Prix. Again, another fantastic time as always, partner. Fun calling those matches with you. And then I believe this weekend, the Suzuki 5-Star Grand Prix from 2022, that complete review of her 12 matches, that'll be up on the Patreon as well. And that's how we're going to close out the month of May. Now, Mr. Rob Goodwin, would you like to know what we have going on for the month of June on the Patreon?
I would love nothing more, Matt. I would love nothing more. Nothing would make me happier.
What if I said you had to either I was going to tell you what we're doing in the month of June for the Patreon, which you know, or you can watch the Hana Kimura tribute show with no hiccups whatsoever. Which one would you choose?
Oh, that's a tough one. That is a tough one. But for now, seeing as the former is apparently not an option, let's talk about the Patreon.
Like the Rolling Stones say, sometimes you can't always get what you want, but sometimes you get what you need. So
absolutely.
Here's what we have coming up in the month of June for the Patreon members. The bi-weekly podcast. There's still, by the time this podcast drops, the voting will be done. It looks like it is going to be Himika's 2020 complete 5-star run. Obviously, she does make the finals there, so that's going to be fun for me to go back and watch. And it also looks like the artist run from Momo Watanabe, Starlight Kid, and Saki Kashima. It looks like those two are going to be the winners. It looks like they are pulling away here in the late hours. So that is probably going to be what is going to be on the bi-weekly podcast. Now, for the alternate commentary, I did mention last week we are going to be paying tribute to the life of Hana Kimura and the career of Himika. So Rob and I will each pick one match from Himika and one match from Hana Kimura. So, Mr. Rob Goodwin, what is your Hana match and what is your Himika match that we're going to be doing the alternate commentary on?
So, my Hana match is her Red Belt Championship match against Bea Priestley from 2019 after she won the 5-Star Grand Prix. And I'm still torn between a couple for Himika. I don't know whether to do her challenging Syuri for the Red Belts. I don't know whether to do her final match from the 5-Star Grand Prix against Utami Hayashishite. There's 3 or 4. There's a My Himi and My Himi versus ALK match from Yokohama. It's probably going to be that one, but I'll keep you updated, Matt.
So then what we'll do is to give Rob a little bit more time so that he can figure out what he wants to do. That'll be the last alternate commentary that we do for the month of June. So and again, if you want to influence Rob, by all means, bother him on social media or, because I don't bother him enough. So there you go. Rob has a couple all winners there. My Himika match is going to be different from the 84 ones that you threw out there, my friend. It's going to be my favorite Himika match will be her challenging Saya Kamatani for the Wonder of Stardom Championship at Stardom X Stardom from last year. And if you do remember, Himika was a last-minute replacement because it was supposed to be Kairi. We were supposed to get that big dream match, and then Kairi, I believe she came down with COVID symptoms, and then Himika came in, and boy, what a replacement. That was my all-time favorite Himika match. And then for my Hana match, we are going to be doing from the 2019 5-star Grand Prix will be her versus Momo Watanabe. So those will be the 4 matches we were doing for the alternate commentary. Now, for our outside the box alternate commentary, I know we're going to the world of All Japan Women's. Correct me if I'm wrong, right, Rob?
We are indeed. We are going back all the way to 1990 and the All Japan Women's. Now, let me get this right. WrestleMarinePia 1990. Sure, from the 14th of November 1990 for that infamous cage match between Bull Nakano and Aja Kong, one of my favourite matches from the All Japan Women's canon, even though I can't say the show name, but it's something that I'm really looking forward to calling with you.
Yeah, absolutely, my friend. And then for the roundtable discussion, we're going to be doing who we think our top 5 all-time greatest women's wrestlers are. And it's not just subjected to Stardom or Joshi. That's, anybody in WWE, WCW, NWA, so on and so forth. So we're going to be doing a countdown from 5 to 1. That'll be our roundtable discussion. And Rob and I will be joined by probably one of the most popular guests we've ever had the show, even though we only had her on one time. Allison Danger will be joining us for the roundtable discussion, and she will be giving us who she thinks is the top 5 greatest women's wrestlers of all time. And I'm sure she will be delivering it in a phenomenal comedic value as she did when we had her on the show a few months ago. So we had a lot of our listeners are asking us when Allison was going to come back on the show, and I still have to lock down everything with Carrie Silken and Awesome Kong, Amazing Kong as well. Just we've been a little bit busy here on the podcast, so we're I have not forgotten about it. We will definitely be getting to all those interviews. So not a matter of if, just a matter of when. So that's what we're doing for roundtable discussion. And then to close out the month, Rob, would you like to let our listeners know what we're doing for our What If segment?
Yeah, absolutely. So, of course, it is Forbidden Door at the end of June. So we took the what if and we decided to give it a little bit of a twist. So what we're going to be doing is we're going to be booking what if Stardom was a part of Forbidden Door. We're going to have 6 matches each, whether we use them as all singles matches, whether we use them as all multi-woman or whatever we want to do. We have got 6 matches to book Stardom talent, whether it's Stardom talent versus Stardom talent versus AEW talent, or whoever is in that sort of AEW New Japan Impact sphere. We're going to be running down our Stardom matches for that as well, which I am really, really looking forward to because I took my ill-fated sabbatical from the podcast just before we could do our fantasy pay-per-view card. So that was something that I regretted missing. So I'm looking forward to this one, Matt.
Yeah, absolutely. Now, as we're recording this, it is Wednesday, and AEW does air on Wednesdays, and obviously Forbidden Door is airing in I think about a month. I know this weekend is Double or Nothing weekend, as well as 84 other wrestling shows. So there is a possibility that Stardom will be a part of Forbidden Door for real. But the way we're booking this is if Tony Khan came up to us and said, Matt, Rob, please help me book Stardom versus AEW for Forbidden Door. And basically what would happen is Rob and I would look at each other and I'd be like, Tony, not a problem, but you're taking us out for a nice steak dinner. And then we get to ride in your private plane and we will help book you some Stardom talent in AEW. So that's our approach to this.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Whether this requires us to record a stinger before the podcast to set the scene, I don't know, but I'm looking forward to that one, my friend.
Yeah, absolutely. And I was just thinking, you take a look at that new $10 tier that we have. You get 9 extra shows for $10. It's a little over $1 an episode. That's absolutely crazy. And I know when we were redoing these tiers, and we took a few months to sit back. We didn't want to rush it. I know our whole thing was we wanted to give double the money. Like if something was costing $5, we were like, would I pay $10 for that? If the $10 tier was $10, would I pay $20 for that? And I think we've had a phenomenal response as we're getting towards the end of month one. And thanks to everybody who has upgraded their Patreon or the new Patreon members. But just a standing ovation, pretty much a rounding applause from everybody on what we're doing on the Patreon, as we were just giving so much on the Patreon, and we thank everybody for your support, and thanks to all the new listeners and new Patreon members as well. But yeah, I know Rob and I really, really value giving everybody more bang for their buck.
Yeah, absolutely. And just on the sort of subject of new patrons, I just wanted to give a shout out to our brand new patrons. Michael Preble, I know that you joined a couple of weeks ago, but I was off last week, so I couldn't give you a shout out. He even provided me with a guide, a pronunciation guide, because of my terrible track record in pronouncing people's names. So thank you for that, Michael, and Lutkins19 as well. Thank you so much for being our patrons, and to everyone that has subscribed to our Patreon, we cannot thank you enough. Huge thanks. But let's talk about some news. Obviously, those of you that follow Stardom as regularly as we do will notice that Stardom World has been let's say, inconsistent with its uploads again. Obviously, it's been Golden Week, which means that there was 485 Stardom shows in 3 days or whatever. So obviously, the uploads have been slow. However, as we record it, it's the 24th of May, and the show from the 9th has just gone up. So we are currently over 2 weeks behind where we need to be, and I know that there was an absolute glut of shows at the end of last week as well, so we are going to be well behind what we are discussing, but whenever they're uploaded, we're just going to sprinkle them in to other episodes. And again, hashtag pray for Sonny, because I imagine the bloke is working his fingers to the bone. But we've got a couple of things we want to talk about. Obviously, today we're going to be talking a little bit about the Hana Kimura show. PINX, we're going to be talking about New Japan Pro Wrestling Strong, their resurgent show, which saw the crowning of the first New Japan Strong Women's Champion, and another tick in the box of Rob and Matt's predictions go hilariously wrong. And we're also going to be talking about the one Stardom show we've actually got to review, which is from the 9th at Edion Arena, Osaka 2. And finally, it is a preview of the upcoming pay-per-view, which will be taking place on the 27th of May, and that is, of course, Flashing Champions, with a double championship main event with Mina Shirakawa taking on Tam Nakano. So lots of things to talk about, even if there aren't that many uploads. Let's start with New Japan Resurgence. Now, this was a show that was interesting for a couple of reasons. One, it saw the formation of a belt that, with the greatest respect in the world, I don't think anyone not wanted, that's not fair. Anyone needed, I don't think there needed to be another title. And we've outlined this in detail in another podcast. However, Dave Meltzer in the Wrestling Observer has apparently stated that Mercedes Mone has signed an extension to a contract for an unspecified amount of dates. Whether that is Stardom and New Japan or whether that is just New Japan, I don't know as of yet. What I do know is that she took part at the Resurgence show from the 21st of May from Long Beach, California, the Walter Pyramid, in front of 2,903 people as one of the 4 women for this New Japan Strong Women's title tournament. Now, before I talk about these matches, because we're not going to talk about all of them, despite it being a pretty fun show from top to bottom, if I'm being honest. Matt, did you manage to get to see these matches?
I did not get to see any of them. These came on Sunday night, and by the time I got home Sunday night, I was exhausted and just never got around to them. But I believe this was on like a separate pay-per-view as well. It's not on New Japan World proper just yet.
No, it's an actual pay-per-view. So obviously, if you have disposable income and you aren't already spending $835 a month on Stardom pay-per-views, I can recommend it's a fun watch. So obviously, the 4 women with Mercedes Mone, Stephanie Vaca from CMLL, Willow Nightingale, and Stardom's own Momo Kohgo. Just a couple of things to shout out. I thought Ian Riccaboni, Alex Kozlov, and Vader Scott, especially Riccaboni and Vader Scott, I thought did a fantastic job on commentary during the women's matches. Vader Scott seemed to be more familiar with the Stardom product, so it was really good to hear her insight into it. Mercedes Mone defeated Stephanie Vaca in 11 minutes 55 seconds with the Moneymaker. I will be honest, I knew absolutely nothing of Vaca before this show. However, she came out and a big pop. Like, this crowd was molten for everyone, to be fair. Everyone got over. All 4 women got over. Mercedes Mone was hugely over. The noise was absolutely unreal. But I thought Vaca was massively impressive, and they had a really, really good high-paced match. There was loads of little spots in it that made it really entertaining. But Vaca was the big standout for me, if I'm being honest, just because I didn't know anything about her. And her and Mercedes put on a really, really, really good match. I actually gave it 4.25 stars. And then the second semi-final match, Willow Nightingale and Momo Kohgo. Do you know what? I am absolutely made up for Momo Kohgo. Yes, she lost here. Yes, she lost in 9 minutes and 37 seconds. But she did herself so... She got over so well in this match, despite losing her resilience, her athleticism, her speed. She's been trying to sort of hone her variation of Mayu's Dodon Pa, so it's now the Momo Pa, which worked really well. She got a really, really close 2 count with that, with Willow Nightingale's foot just falling on the ropes. It was a really, really well choreographed spot. And these two had really, really good chemistry. I'm a huge fan of Willow Nightingale. I think she's great. And there was a couple of periods in this match where her power just seemed to be too much for Momo, and then Momo sort of got into the match more. She hit the 619, which the crowd loved. She got a couple of really close 2 counts, the one I mentioned with the Momon Pa, and then of course there was one with the Hurricane Rana as well with a really close 2 count. And by the end of the match, this crowd were eating her up, absolutely eating her up. But ultimately, and I think we predicted this, Willow Nightingale did end up winning with the Dangerous Babe Bomb, her gut wrench power bomb, which the way Momo's head hits the canvas when you think that she's just been sidelined with a concussion after All-Star Grand Queendom, it was a little bit sickening, I'm not gonna lie.
Ooh.
But I think she's okay. And you know, not mincing words, Momo Kohgo is a pin eater in Stars. Like, she's yet to really find that niche, and I don't think that's been disrespectful. At the moment, she's lower on the totem pole in the grand scheme of things. But when you consider how well she got over, how well she represented Stardom, and the fact that anyone that's watching that for the first time would think, you know, she's mid-card, easy. She really, really did well. The one thing I did find funny was the fact that the pay-per-view didn't have the rights to Momo Kohgo's song, despite the fact New Japan or Bushi Road owning Stardom. I don't understand how that happened. And the problem is, obviously, with it being overdubbed music, you couldn't hear the crowd reaction to Momo Kohgo, which was a little bit disappointing. But if the reactions to the other 3 women were anything to go by, I'm sure she was over huge. And she was definitely over even more after the match. Overall, a really, really, really good performance by all women. Again, huge props to Momo Kohgo, huge props to Stephanie Vaca, who I'm now going to be actively looking out for, and if we can get her on a tour in Stardom, I'll be very, very happy. But that would then move on to the final, which would see Willow Nightingale take on Mercedes Mone to become the first New Japan Strong Women's Champion. And, you know, this match, unfortunately, is going to be marred by the injury to Mercedes Mone. She took a spill to the outside, and the camera angle, I'm not sure whether it's her ankle or her knee, but she took a spill to the outside and landed funny, ultimately. And this led to what I sort of perceived to be a change on the fly with Willow Nightingale going over, because if you read The Observer, what Dave said, I think he basically bluntly put it as they wouldn't have created this championship if Mercedes Mone wasn't winning it. I'm paraphrasing slightly, but that is basically his thought process. Yeah, Mercedes had to be carried out of the arena. There was photos of her in the hospital afterwards. They both did extremely well, Willow Nightingale and Mercedes Mone, to finish the match. But at the moment, I don't know how long Mercedes Mone is out for. But judging by just the reaction to this woman, like, I know that I always enjoy reading the diehard WWE fans who say Mercedes Mone has thrown away her legacy by leaving the WWE. Sure.
But haven't watched a single match.
Absolutely.
Like, oh, did you see the match with Mayu? No. How awesome was that Azumi Hazuki match? Oh, I didn't see it. Oh, that match that she had with Kyrie, her first match since leaving WWE, that was great. Yeah, I just saw the clips on Twitter. I'm like, then you can't, you know what I mean? That's like me making a judgment on your favorite, soccer football team. Like, I don't watch it. How can I do that? You know what I mean?
Exactly.
It's like, Rob, your team's terrible. What's wrong with them? I don't know. What the heck?
Ordinarily, mate, that's not a bad assumption, to be fair. just any day of the week, just what's wrong with them? They're just crap. But ultimately, this led to Willow Nightingale being the first champion, which, we obviously wish Mercedes Mone a speedy recovery. However, the silver lining to this is that there's more of a spotlight on Willow Nightingale. And again, I can't stress how much of a fan I am of Willow, and, maybe we'll see another match with a Stardom wrestler. She had really, really good chemistry with Momo Kohgo, and she reminded me very, very much, and it's not just about size, but she wrestles a lot like Viper did. So that when Viper was in Stardom and before the dreadful rebirth as Doudrop, I'd like to see Willow Nightingale as that sort of powerhouse in Stardom. I don't think it'll happen, but just keep an eye out for our what if, because she might feature quite prevalently. But yeah, overall,
Rob, what was the finish of I know Mercedes got hurt, but did they go to a count out finish, or did Willow pin her? I don't know what the finish was.
I think Willow pinned it. I can't actually remember. I've made my notes, but I can't remember, and I haven't noted down how she won. But it definitely wasn't a count out. It was definitely in the ring. I think she did pin her clean.
Oh.
Which obviously is only Mercedes' second loss. Yeah, it was. Look, when stuff like that happens, there's nothing you can do. We've seen it before in Stardom. We saw it with Mayu when she got injured against Toni Storm. We saw it with Tora when she got injured with Utami. Stuff like this happens. No one was at fault that I could see from the spot, and it was replayed to death on Twitter and social media. There didn't seem to be anything other than a completely innocuous landing, and Matt, as a wrestler, I'm sure you'll know, those innocuous landings are the worst.
Yeah, again, that's how I had probably the biggest injury, and knock on wood, in 20 years of doing this, was the one I had back at the end of last summer, where it was my foot, where I I jumped off the top rope into the third row because I thought that would be smart at 40 years old, and I just came right down heavy on my foot, and I couldn't feel it, and I wanted to finish the match in the tournament I was in, which, obviously the doctor's like, yeah, no, not really. But that's why I always say you need to really just go over respect wrestlers, no matter what they're doing. If it's a 4-minute match or a 20-minute match, if it's a singles match or a ladder match, because they are really putting their bodies on the line for our entertainment. And I know I've said it on the podcast 100 times, and it's probably going to be on my tombstone when I die, which hopefully won't be for a while. But in the immortal words of Roddy Red Piper, anybody that answers the bell, I have the ultimate respect for, and it's another reason why we need to just stop being so harsh on every wrestler, and just show respect for them, because you never know when somebody can get injured. It happens all the time when you go out there and you wrestle.
Absolutely, and there's never a good time to be injured, but when you are coming off the back of the run that Mercedes Mone is coming off, you've got to feel like that's just a dreadful, dreadful timing. Again, I'm sure someone will be screaming at the podcast going, she's out for such and such a time, but at the moment, I don't know how long she is out for. It didn't look great, but fingers crossed people have recovered. I'm hoping it's not ACL or something like that. If it's her knees, fingers crossed she's okay. But again, ascend on a positive. Willow Nightingale has that championship, and I'm looking forward to seeing who she takes on in her reign and how long she holds on to it for as well. Obviously, yesterday, as we record, was the 23rd of May, which marks 3 years since the passing of Hana Kimura. And we had our third tribute show, memorial show in Hana's honor, which was entitled PINX. And this was held again at Corrigan Hall in front of 687 people. There was no English commentary as an option to this one. I know Ian Riccoboni has done it. He definitely did Matinee. I don't know if he did Bagus as well. But the Japanese commentary was provided by Fumi Saito, Jungle Kiona, which was nice, and Ken Suzuki as well. Now, unfortunately, and as I sort of alluded to earlier, this show is going to be known for two things. One of which is just so annoying that it really did take away from the first hour of the show, which is really annoying. And then one of them is just, it's heartbreaking. Like, just heartbreaking. Obviously, we need to talk about FITE TV. Now, anyone that has attempted to watch this show, I don't know if they've fixed it now on the archived version of it, but when I watched it, it was dreadful. The lag and the general quality was abysmal. Absolutely abysmal. Now, the commentary was fine. The commentary is crystal clear throughout the entire show. But the amount of... I don't think it was fixed for an hour and a half of this show. And I think the show was only 2 hours 40 as a total runtime. And it was laggy. I think you said it, Matt, that at one point it was like listening to commentary over still images. It was like a slideshow. And as someone who... or as a company, I apologize, who is... they are trying to cultivate wrestling companies to really build that FITE TV Plus sort of subscription. They've had GCW and all these independent shows. You would think that a company like FITE TV would be able to do a better job than what they produced for the first hour and a half, and then it just cut out as they were obviously trying to rectify the feed. I don't know what went wrong, and it upsets me because I know that it took away from the show, and obviously the entire premise of this show is to remember and celebrate the life of the late great Hana Kimura. And I'm not going to say, I'm not going to refer to Hana in the past tense, because if this show proved anything, and if that video package at the end proved anything, it is that Hana still lives on in the spirit and the happiness and the memories that she left with so many people. So I'm not going to refer to her in the past tense. But this should have been a celebration. And all I read on Twitter and all I read on Instagram was about how poor Facebook, sorry, not Instagram, how poor the quality of this stream was. And honestly, Matt, I missed most of the opening match, the Battle Royal. Like Minoru, I think, did it get fixed? Because it was 20 minutes before we even had a match, because of the opening package and obviously the words spoken by Kyoko Kimura. I don't think it was fixed until partway through Minoru Suzuki versus Kyusai Hana Kimura, was it?
Yeah, it was like pretty much towards the end. And I know I watched this show, I think it was live like 5:30 in the morning, Eastern Standard Time. So I didn't watch it till I came home from work. Obviously, this took place on a Tuesday, so probably about 12 hours later. And I did see I was on Twitter, here and there, just getting caught up on certain things. And I saw our good buddy Scotty Wrestling. He was watching it live, as he always does. I don't know if that guy sleeps. I think he's literally on his Joshi clock. I was like, where do you like? Is there only? Last time I checked, there's only 24 hours in a day. Not unless he's cloned and there's more than one of them. I don't know how he does it. But I saw him just going ballistic on Twitter. Like, the fight, this is, I don't know if there's any bigger Hana Kimura fan than Scott, but he was really, really upset over just the lag of it. And I just thought maybe it's just the live stream. By the time it's done and over with, it'll smooth out by the time I watch it. And then the first match was, from what I was able to kind of see and kind of piece together in my own imagination, was fantastic. But by the time we got to the Minoru Suzuki match, I even texted you and I was like, I just want to soften the blow for you, brother, but just let you know, like, this show is really, really laggy, and it doesn't clear up until pretty much match 4, which, again, the first match was really good from what I was able to see. I mean, hopefully they fix the stream and we can go back and watch it. But the last 2 matches I thought were absolutely fantastic and phenomenal. And then, of course, the video package, you literally had a who's who of wrestling was there that, put an absolute smile on my face. And then, of course, streamers. I will always pop for streamers. We had that. But, let's just get the negative out of the way. I mean, it's really no fault of really anybody's except for FITE TV. And I do watch FITE TV to watch the Josh Barnett Blood Sports and shows from time to time. And many of my friends, as well as myself, has been on FITE TV, a handful of times for them doing some of the local Northeast independents as well. And really, there hasn't been any issue. So I just don't know what it was. It's unfortunately, it was a hiccup on one of the shows that a lot of people around the world were watching to pay tribute to Hana Kimura. But again, hopefully they have it fixed and we can go back and at least watch. Because again, this was a show that some matches weren't for everybody, but definitely this first match certainly was, and it's definitely one that I would like to go back and revisit as it's without being able to watch like a still slideshow. So. But again, other than that, though, partner, what do you think of the show overall, other than that?
This one felt more like a celebration than a memorial, which I was a big fan of. You had so many legends and things. You just look at the people in that battle royal, and it just reads as a who's who. I mean, it was won by Jaguar Yokota, who, for me, is one of, if not the greatest female wrestler of all time. And she comes out of retirement. You've got people like Chihiro Hashimoto, Kyoko Inoue. You've got Super Delphine, who was, of course, one of Hana Kimura's favorite wrestlers. You've got Minoru Suzuki wrestling. You've got Aja Kong in the main event with Sari against Mika Iwata and Mio Momono. It was a who's who. And
Minoru Tanaka, one of my favorite juniors of the early 2000s. And when I first broke into the business, first broke into wrestling, again, over 20 years ago, one of the juniors that I studied the most was Minoru Tanaka. And when he came out, it took me a minute. I'm like, I don't want to look this up. I know who that is. And then once I started seeing him throw kicks, I'm like, I know who that is. I was like literally just sitting on my couch by myself, like, oh my God, this is awesome. Minoru Tanaka's throwing kicks and he looks great and could probably kill me. This is awesome.
I mean, if you want an in-depth review, I can't recommend Karen Peterson's review on post-wrestling enough. It's a really, really thorough, in-depth and well-written review, so go and check that out. But we got to see Aja Kong throw the Hurricane, which I love. We got to see Death Yama-san, which I didn't think I'd pop for, but there we are, especially when they said that Kiyoru Yoriyama couldn't make it, which I thought was quite funny. She just came in as Death Yama-san.
But they're not lying. They weren't lying.
Absolutely. The three faces of Yoriyama. But overall, I think it was a fun show. And that's a big thing for me. It was fun. You know, you mentioned the 6-woman, the semi-main event, and that was Veni Natsupoi and Syuri versus Death Yamasan, Konami, and Rina. And it's always really emotional. It's emotional anyway, but when you've got people who were so close to her at the time of the death, Jungle Kiona on commentary, who I thought did a fantastic job. Obviously, I do not speak Japanese. I have no idea what she was saying, but she seemed to carry herself very, very well and didn't seem to have any nerves whatsoever. You've got Rina, who, of course, modeled herself on Hana Kimura, you know, was part of that Tokyo Cyber Squad, won her first singles championship in Stardom with a move given to her by Hana Kimura. I mean, it's just perfect. And then, you know, Konami as well, who was a huge friend of Hana Kimura and had that fantastic informal and sort of unofficial Hana Kimura tribute match against Julia at Dream Kingdom 2021. It was a thoroughly enjoyable show, and the reason that was one of the reasons, should I say, that I was so annoyed about the stream is because it was the only negative for me. Like, the show was really, really good. You know, the emotion of that video package, and I've got a translation here, courtesy of Karen, of what Aja Kong actually said at the end of the show, which it says, "It's raining today. Those are probably Hannah's tears." And then she looks up and says, "Hey, Hannah, you aren't supposed to be crying today." And that's just like, oh my God, like, Aja, what are you doing to me? And there's, you know, overall, it's just a beautiful celebration of life. And I hope that is what it continues to be, because Hannah is such a vital part of so many people's lives, even now, that hopefully these continue and continue to sort of celebrate that life.
Yeah, absolutely. And just a couple of things I want to touch upon. I did notice that, I guess, walking into Corkin Hall, they had a whole bunch of Hana's outfits kind of on display. And I could be wrong, but I don't think that I am, even though I'm wrong quite a bit, that it looked like Mercedes Monet, her outfit that she wore when she defeated Kairi for the IWGP Women's Championship just a few months ago, which obviously was completely modeled off of Hana's Tokyo Cyber Squad gear. I believe that was on display. So it looked like Mercedes either donated it or put it on loan. So this way it can be displayed in Corkin Hall. And if I'm right on the money on that, there's just the stock for one Mercedes Monet in my heart and my mind has just gone up even more. There's something I didn't even realize either, Rob, that again, when we talk about our buddy Scotty Wrestling, he actually just started a podcast not too long ago on Stardom called Stardom Road, where him and his co-host Trent, they don't really do shows, they just look back at like certain careers. And he did a 3-part piece on Arisa Hoshinki and a 2 or 3-part series on Hana Kimura, and I highly recommend everybody go and listen to those. But I didn't even realize that Arisa retired right around the same time that Hana passed away.
Yep.
And it was like almost like back to back in 2020. And I didn't start watching Stardom until early 2021. But I noticed on Twitter, like late last week, when it was 3 years to the date that Stardom, the We Are Stardom account, made mention that Arisa had to retire, there were so many glowing tributes and music videos and people just talking about their favorite Arisa matches. And then you fast forward to, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday of this week, where we're now on the 3-year anniversary of Hana passing. Again, same thing. So many glowing tributes and just nothing, no negativity at all for either of these two. Obviously, Arisa, she's still with us. But it just goes to show just the positivity and the love that people have, not only for Arisa and Hana Kimura, but just Stardom in general. We've noticed that since we've been obviously you're doing the podcast twice as long as me, as wrestling fans can be very, very toxic, but it really seems the Stardom fans really seems like we're just one big whole community. And even if we disagree on certain things, we do it like very, very respectful, with a lot of respect and a lot of love. It just really seems like Stardom. I mean, maybe this is just me, just the positivity in me and the fact that I do everything in my life to block negativity out. It just seems like Stardom as a whole, especially, again, this past week with all the tributes to Arisa and to Hana, Stardom as a whole, the fan base just seems very, very positive. And that just, makes me love this company even more.
Yeah, it's hard to disagree. I remember it was a rough week, to say the least. I believe it was 3 days prior. I think she retired on May 20th, and then obviously Hana passed away on May the 23rd. the company did extremely well to come back from that, but obviously the whole thing with Hana was brutal. And actually, it reminds me, obviously, me and you were on a rather big wrestling podcast episode yet to drop, and we talked a little bit about Hana, and we were sort of asked about what had happened as a result of what had happened to Hana. And it dawned on me that since her passing, I hadn't actually looked, I hadn't checked, because as someone who suffers quite badly on a daily basis with her mental health, I didn't want to look back at it. But I did have a look at what sort of things have come into, have sort of happened as a result of Hannah's passing. And we sort of said it's an ongoing investigation. To this day, there have been 3 men arrested in connection with the online abuse sent to Hana. And the first one I remember happening just after, and we talked about it on the podcast, and it was just shocking that at the time in 2020, this sort of internet abuse was seen as what is noted as a relatively minor offense in Japan. And the man arrested was fined 9,000 yen, which those of you who are familiar with the conversion rate from yen to dollars, that is $80, which is just
unacceptable.
Completely unacceptable. There were 2 other men arrested at different points in 2021. There was, I think one was fined $27,000. Another one was ordered to pay 1.29 million yen, which is about $12,000. Again, nothing really, but one good thing, and I say good thing, one reaction from the Japanese government. On June the 14th, 2022, Japan's parliament passed a law in which online insults were punishable by 1 year, and this was directly in response to Kimura's online bullying. Offenders convicted of online insults can be put in jail for up to 1 year or fined 300,000 yen, which is about $2,500. It's certainly not a huge amount of money, but again, putting some manner of positive spin on it, at least there is some prison time attached to it. In my humble opinion, it is nowhere near long enough, but at least we are a way away from the $80, the absolute pittance that this. I'm not going to call the bloke what I want to call him, because we're a clean podcast, the Stardom cast.
Use your imagination, folks. Yeah. Use your imagination.
Just basically think of the lowest common life form, and you'll probably think of what I'm thinking of. But either way, it was. I know that obviously, whilst we were on this podcast, we were talking about sort of where it sat, and we were like, it's ongoing, and it sort of just triggered something in me, like, actually, where are we on that now? So I just wanted to provide a little bit of an update, because, like I said before, that's the first time I've actually checked since her passing, or since that first man was arrested in connection with it, which I honestly cannot believe has been 3 years. But obviously, as Karen says, everybody's different, everybody's special. And we always remember Hana Kimura, and we'll continue to remember Hana forever.
Yeah, we pay tribute to her. We pay tribute to her every show, whether it's the regular feed or the Patreon feed, as we end every show by using her her catchphrase. So we're doing. I think that we do a great job in our part, and a lot of people do, keeping her memory alive. And there's a lot of newer folks in the last 4, 5, 6 months that have they're just discovering Hana Kimura, again, passing away 3 years ago. So I think that she's somebody that's going to keep inspiring the younger generation of wrestlers, just based on her body of work and what she meant to pro wrestling. So that's nothing but a positive. And then just one last super positive thing I just want to make mention about this show. Sairi in that main event, I haven't seen her wrestle since NXT. Oh boy. Oh boy, good win. Holy, and I only saw a little bit of her. I know that obviously we were supposed to, in 2020, we were supposed to get that, dream match with her and Mayu. And then I believe she got sick or something. And then she went over to WWE. And then what I saw of her in NXT, I thought she was fantastic. And I know she came back against a match with Hashimoto. I have not seen it yet. But and I know there's a lot of rumors that she wants to compete for the IWGP Women's Championship, and she wants some matches in Stardom. Man, if we get her in Stardom, especially around the time of the 5-star Grand Prix, Rob, I will be one happy boy. I'll tell you that, because she was absolute. All 4 women were amazing, but she was absolutely incredible. In my opinion, the MVP of the show. And have you got a chance? Did you get a chance to see her return match with Hashimoto by chance, Rob? We've never talked about that.
The Sariism show, no. I saw quite a lot of sort of hype surrounding the show beforehand, but yeah, I haven't. I'll be honest, with the amount of wrestling I consume on a daily and weekly basis, I just didn't have time.
No, neither have I. It did make the cover of last week's Weekly Pro Wrestling magazine, so it had to be somewhat really, really good. So I'm going to have to go out of my way to see if I can find it. But yeah, I was just completely blown away by just how damn good she is. I'm like, man, if we get her on Stardom, doesn't even need to be on a full-time basis. If we get her sprinkled in from time to time, like we did with Suzu Suzuki last year, oh boy, she can make some beautiful music with that entire roster. And I'm excited for that potential opportunity there, good sir.
Absolutely. Let's talk then about the one Stardom show that we are going to be reviewing, and that was, of course, the Stardom Golden Week Fight Tour 2023 Night 6, which was subtitled as Bonus Show on the 9th of April 2023 from Edion Arena, Osaka number 2, in front of 519 people. I'll read through the results and then we'll sort of talk about all of the matches. So we open with a 3-way match. Saki Kashima winning over Aya Sakura and Waka Tsukiyama, with Saki pinning Sakura with the Kishikasai in 3 minutes and 55 seconds. We followed that with a tag match. The Queen's Quest team of Miyu Amasaki and Lady C defeating the team of Hanako and Yuna Mizumori, with Lady C getting the pin with the giant backbreaker. We don't see Lady C getting the pinfall very often, so that's nice. Tag team match then was the Donna Del Mondo team of Mei Sakurai and Maika winning over the Wingori team of Saida and Hanan, with Mei Sakurai getting a pinfall over Saida with the diving elbow drop.
I literally laughed. I'm watching this, and she hits the elbow, and obviously, I'm pulling for Wingori. Again, obviously they need to be pushed, and hopefully they are, because they're so good. She hits the diving elbow, and I'm like, man, I really hope that's the finish, because I can't wait to hear Rob just groaning from all the way across the other part of the world.
I'm all for Mei Sakurai getting the win, especially because it leads to promos, and Mei Sakurai's promos are incredibly entertaining. But you've got the guillotine leg drop. Just use that. Do you know what? Either that or just use your double underhook facebuster. You use that in the match. I mean, you pinned Saida with it. She's a gorilla. She's not going to be pinned by your pathetic elbow drop. What's wrong with you? Anyway.
It's fired up.
Oh my God.
He's fired up. He's hulking up. Watch out.
8-woman tag match followed next with the Ueda Tai team of Mo Watanabe, Starlight Kid, Ruaka, and Natsuko Tora getting the victory over Club Venus. Mina Shirakawa, Mariah May, Xena, and Jessie, with Natsuko Tora getting the pin over Xena with the Swanton Bomb in 10 minutes and 18 seconds. We then followed with a 6-woman tag match with the Queen's Quest team of Utami Hayashishita, Sayaka Matani, and Azumi defeating the God's Eye team of Syuri, Mirai, and Amisori, with Utami pinning Amisori with the Torture Rack Bomb in 12 minutes and 16 seconds. Semi-main event saw the Donna Del Mondo team of Tekla and Julia defeating the team of Suzu Suzuki and Mei Seira, with Julie getting the pinfall over Mei with the Glorious Driver. And then in our main event, the Cosmic Angels team of Tam Nakano, Natsupoi, and Shiori Anu defeated the Stars team of Mai Iwatani, Koguma, and Hazuki, with Tam Nakano getting the pin with the violet screwdriver. So, Matt, if we can avoid that elbow drop, I'm very, very happy. Do you want to start? Which match would you like to talk about? Because I know we will want to talk about those two matches that closed the show because they were both fantastic. And obviously we had even more implosion in terms of Queen's Quest. But what would you like to talk about first?
We'll spend the bulk of this little segment talking about the last three matches, but just real again, push Queen Gory. I mean, obviously Mike is great. May Sakurai is getting better. Han and Saito are so good. Push Wing Gory. As far as I really like what they're doing on these tours with the multi-person tag matches with Oedo Tai, as they're really giving Momo Watanabe and Tora really time to shine, especially as a tag team, whether it's a 6-person or 8-person, because obviously they're building them up for their tag title match, which we'll talk about at the end of the show. So I just really like how they're doing that. But yeah, let's talk about the Queen's Quest team of Saya Kamatani, Utami, and Azumi versus the Gazai team of Shuri, Mirai, and Ami Sohrei. Now, when I first clicked on the little thumbnail to watch this match, and I was like, is there only 5 matches on this show? Because this could have been a main event. And then the co-main event comes up. I'm like, that could be the main event. And then the main event happens. And I'm like, oh, that's why that was the main event. These last 3 matches were great. Again, Utami, Saya Kamatani, and Azumi is my favorite trio in all of wrestling. But Shuri, Mirai, and Ami Sohrei aren't far off. And kudos to Rossy Ogawa, because when I saw this match started, I was like, this is clearly going to a time limit draw. And he totally hoodwinked me on it. I'm like, this has time limit draw written all over it. But I thought this was great. Again, as you said about a minute ago, partner, they're doing a really good job just teasing Utami and Saya just not getting along, or they're off a step, literally to the point where Utami towards the end was kind of getting beat down quite a bit by the New Eras, which is a really good way to get the tag champs over even more, is kind of having some double teams on one of the pillars of Stardom, to the point where usually when you see these Queen's Quest multi-person tag matches, when they're building towards the end, it's usually Aphrodite, Saya, and Utami coming in to make the save, whether it's on Azumi, Lady C, Miyu Amasaki, etc., etc. But they switched this up, and it was the team of Saya Kamatani and Azumi coming to Utami's aid, and then literally to the point where they had to put a double team, and then they did this really cool triple team double suplex, double stomp from Azumi's spot to Ami Sohrei that eventually then Utami hits the torture rack bomb on. But I thought that was a really cool dynamic towards the match, giving Queen's Quest the win. But the fact that Azumi and Saya had to work better as a team, and that Utami had to work better as a singles to get the win, which is something really different than they've been doing the past year. But overall, I thought the match was great. I actually gave it 4 solid stars, sir.
Yeah, I gave it 3.5. And we talked a little bit about this in terms of on our Patreon episode yesterday. I'm very, very excited to see how this descent in the ranks of Queen's Quest is going to play out, because it's worth noting that Queen's Quest are one of the oldest factions in Stardom. I think there's only Oedo Tai that's been going longer. So to lose that, if we do get a break apart and Utami goes one way, Saya Kamatani goes another, and we do get this sort of division, it'll be intriguing to see what happens. I outlined what I think's going to happen on that Patreon episode, but it's always good to see that despite that, they're still so good as a team. Good as a team. And you're right, it was. I did think it was going to be a time limit draw because they wouldn't want to put Ami Sohrei and Mirai on the losing team with them defending the tag belts. But then I had to remember that this is from the 9th, so it's like 2 weeks ago, so it doesn't matter. They can build them back up before the pay-per-view. I've got to stop.
They might have already have.
Yeah, absolutely.
We just haven't seen it.
Who knows? I mean, it's like the 8-woman tag, to be fair. I was thinking it's a bit weird that they've given Club Venus the L. But then, of course, I was thinking, oh, well, Tora needs the victory, obviously, because Tora and Momo Watanabe are going for the tag belts. And then I realized it's the 9th of May. You can do whatever you want with them up to that point. You can easily build Club Venus back up, especially as they are one of the hottest things. It is interesting, though, and I know I'm talking a little bit about this 8-woman tag. It is interesting, though, that they are very much protecting, obviously, Mina Shirakawa, obviously, and Mariah May. And when we preview Flashing Champions, I think we are going to see the beginnings of, or the continuation of, should I say, a program for Mariah May, because it'll be Club Venus versus Stars, I believe, in an 8-woman tag. So we'll be talking a little bit about that as well. Donna Del Mondo and Mei Seira and Suzu Suzuki is everything you'd really want it to be. In my opinion, Julia and Micah are the best team in DDM, but just behind them are Mafia Bella. Julia and Tekla have got such good chemistry, and they're both such different wrestlers as well, because you've got Julia, who's a brawler, you know, and works so well with Suzu Suzuki in that style, but then you've got that high-speed exchange between Tekla and Mei Seira. I thoroughly enjoyed this match, and I actually thought it went by very, very quickly. It only lasted, I think, 12 minutes 51. It's a really, really quick match, and it's probably my second favorite match on this card, Matt.
Yeah, I like the main event. I'm assuming was your favorite match, as it was mine. But I like this one. I like the match we just talked about slightly better than this one, but I completely understand why you'd pick that. And even after I watched this match, I tweeted something out when Suzu got in there. And a lot of times it's the little things in wrestling that really, really pop me. Just the way somebody puts on a hold or sells something. Suzu Suzuki, who I believe is only 21, she's starts off her match with Julia. She puts on a headlock, and when she puts on the headlock, she turns her outer wrist up and then changes her grip. And if you take a look at the bone that's kind of on your wrist, it's called the cutting bone. And what it does is, what she did is it rubbed up against Julia's nose, and to the point where you can see Julia was physically uncomfortable, and it kind of almost popped Suzu Suzuki. Like, she knew she was going to do that to kind of just get under Julia's skin just for 2 seconds. And I was like, that is such an old school, like 1940s, 1950s shoot style, catch style wrestling thing to do, and something so small. And I'm like, she's 21 years old, and she understood how to just put the cutting bone and change your grip on somebody's nose just for a second to make them uncomfortable. I thought that was great. And I was like, as if I couldn't love Suzu Suzuki enough. But yeah, obviously her stuff with Julia was great. I thought the Mei Seira Tekla stuff was out of this world, was fantastic. I'm completely invested in this Mei Seira high speed run, and hopefully she does get a nice championship run with the high speed division, as I think me and you have both alluded to in the past 2 or 3 weeks, that I think she'll be the next person, the next heir apparent to Azumi, whether it's goes to either Fukin Death or Saki Kashima this weekend, and then eventually goes to Mei Seira. But I think she's somebody that can have a good 6 or 7 month run with the high speed division and keep it. I'm not going to say she's going to be at the same level as Azumi, because that's just not fair, but she can be somewhat relatively close. Again, Tekla, seems like, we talked about it ever since All-Star Grand Queendom, where DDM, they just seem to be ramping up the violence even more. And I don't mean like a Wedo Tai, style violence where they're on the outside throwing you through chairs and hitting you with weapons. I mean like in the ring violence. And Tekla, these past 5-6 weeks, just seems to be more and more aggressive with her forearms, with her strikes. I'm really, really intrigued to kind of see like this more violent, brutal character shift with Tekla. And again, not only more brutal and violent in the ring, Rob, but more brutal and violent on the microphone, as well as we'll talk about the end of the show promo that she cuts and gets right to the point with poor Natsupoi. So, but yeah, man, that match was great. I actually had it at 3 3/4 stars.
Yeah, I had it at 4. Thoroughly enjoyed it. Now, Matt, I know you want to talk about this main event simply because Tam's in it. But
Mayu, Hazuki, Koguma was like the MVP of the match, and
Koguma was the MVP.
Yeah,
absolutely.
She was so unbelievable.
I am looking forward, sort of jumping ahead, I am looking forward to the upload. There is a match, I believe, between Koguma and Mariah May, and the Stardom Twitter account informed us that they went to a sexy double count out and then doubled down and said, yes, that says sexy double count out. I am so intrigued to see how I can sort of in my head know what Mariah May is going to be doing, but this is so far away from bare pose Koguma that I'm so intrigued as to what this partnership is between Mariah May and Koguma.
I'm excited. I'm excited to do a Patreon alternate commentary of that match with your partner.
You're kidding me, aren't me? You're going to do a video of it, me and you. That's what Philadelphia's going to be, mate. Me and you, sexy count out.
Man, look how City of Brotherly Love, Stardom Cast is coming.
Absolutely. Who needs an OnlyFans?
Anyway, wrestling.
Yeah, absolutely. Wrestling. I mean, this, and again, this is not being disrespectful, but this is Star's A team in Mayu Iwatani, Hazuki, and Koguma. And they are a trio that I thoroughly enjoy watching simply because their chemistry is absolutely fantastic. You've got Mayu, who is this huge star, despite being just the doziest person in the world. Just being Mayu.
Adds to her charm. It adds to her charm. It's the gimmick, brother.
I mean, this is a woman that does a huge crossbody off the bus, which is just insane. You've got Hazuki, who no nights off Hazuki. She's just so hard hitting, and that's so good with people like Tam. It just works so well. And then, of course, you've got the high-speed stuff with Koguma, and she has such great chemistry with Natsupoi. And, to be fair, Sayori Anu as well. And I think everyone that wrestled Sayori Anu had really good chemistry with her. But overall, these six just clicked. It was a really, really fun main event. And then, Matt, I'll let you talk us through that post-match because, Christ.
Yeah, as this match was getting towards the end, I was like, man, Mayu, Hazuki, and Koguma, they're so good. I would love to see them challenge, for the Artists of Stardom champ. They don't just necessarily have to win, but I would love to see a challenge either on a pay-per-view or like maybe the main event of a Korakuen. And I watched a lot of wrestling yesterday, folks. Literally, I went to work, came home. As soon as I came home, Rob and I jumped on the old StreamYard Discord there. We recorded a podcast. Then I watched the Hana show, and then I watched the rest of this show. So as this match is getting towards the end, and in my head, I was like, man, I would love to see them challenge for the Artists of Stardom champions. I'm like, who are the Artists of Stardom champions? I'm like, oh, it's 2 or 3 of these people that they're in the ring with. But yeah, I mean, a Natsupoi Sorinu Kari versus Mayu Hazuki Koguma match would be absolutely fantastic. I don't think anybody would shy away from that. But yes, Tam Nakano hits the violent screwdriver on Koguma for the 3 count. Fantastic match. I actually gave it 4.25 stars. And then Julia, Tekla, and Mai Sakurai come to the ring to kind of hype up their Artists of Stardom Championship match coming up this weekend. And Tekla grabs the microphone and then spills out to Natsupoi, bleep you, and looks at Soriano and says, bleep you. At this point, Tam is out of the ring. And then she points at Tam and, oh, by the way, bleep you. And then she gives the microphone to Natsupoi. You could tell is very angry. I'm like, please, Natsupoi, do not stoop down to Tekla's level. Please do not. And thank God she didn't, Rob. And I was very relieved that we did not get pouty mouth Natsupoi V2. So
no, absolutely not. I think Natsupoi is one of those people who you just look at her and think she's far too innocent to come out with such vulgar language. I really love the sort of juxtaposition between the all-in Cosmic Angels of Tam and Natsupoi and the sort of periphery that is Sayori Anu. Obviously, post-match, we get a backstage segment and it becomes, in inverted commas, official that Sayori Anu is a part of Cosmic Angels, and she sort of half-heartedly does the delicious thing. I'm intrigued to know where that goes as well. But this trio of Julia, Tekla, and Mai Sakurai, that's a really, really cool trio. I don't think they take the artist belts, don't get me wrong, but that match, I think, could be a sleeper hit for that show.
Yeah, absolutely. Again, obviously, we talked about it a few weeks ago when they first announced Tam versus Mina. And again, I understand why they're doing it. Both very hot commodities, strike while the iron's hot. But you look at this undercard, especially this Artists of Stardom Championship match. You have so many different things sprinkled in it. Obviously, you have the rise of Mai Sakurai. You have the potential of pure violence of Kairi versus Julia. And, I completely forgot to talk about in the show last week. is Kyrie about a week or two ago did make mention that she wants to work more dates for Stardom. So obviously the Julia versus Kyrie match that we didn't get last year is, could be on the horizon, and we're gonna get it teased here as well. And obviously now you're sprinkling in this hatred that Tekla has for Natsupoi, which I'm like, oh boy, where are they going here? There's so many different stories going into this Artist of Stardom Championship match, plus the fact that all 6 of these ladies can go. Yeah, I think this can absolutely steal the show on what is a pretty top-heavy loaded card coming up this weekend.
Absolutely, and obviously our rundown of that show is sort of our main event. If you want, I just wanted to go through very quickly. New Blood 9 has been announced. That's coming up on June 2nd and is actually the next big show, really, after Flashing Champions. It's the week after. And the card for that show has been announced. So we have got a tag match, Wingori taking on Kohaku of Pro Wrestling Wave, and Ruaka. We've got a tag match with the return, possibly the most heralded return in Stardom history, of Sexy Dynamite Princess, and Waka Tsukiyama taking on Ram Kai Chao and Maika Ozaki. We have got the New Eras, Mirai and Arisori taking on Hanako and Aya Sakura. We've got another Passion Injection match, Nene Takahashi versus Mei Sakurai. That could be really interesting because, in my opinion, when it's come to these Passion Injection matches, Nene hasn't missed, so I'm very intrigued by that. We have got the Supernova 5th match, the final, and this is Miyu Amasaki taking on Azumi. And then we have got our semi-main, the future of Stardom Championship on the line with the new champion Rina in her first defense against Lady C. And then in our main event, and this is something that I'm massively looking forward to, it's the New Blood Tag Team Championships on the line with Starlight Kid and Karma, the champions, looking to get their second title defense under their belts against the Inaba sisters, Tomoka Inaba and Azusa Inaba as well. I'll try that again, Azusa Inaba. And that's all going down June 2nd at Shinagawa Intercity Hall in Tokyo. A couple of questions, Matt. Obviously, we'll do a preview next week. But in terms of this versus New Blood 8, where does this stand? Do you think this is another good card? Do you think there's a couple too many throwaway matches? What's your opinion on this New Blood 9 card?
New Blood 8 was my favorite of the 8. I was feeling great after I got done watching New Blood 8. Look at that, Rob. I'm rolling here, folks.
Look at that.
Look at that, my friend. I thought New Blood 8, again, that was fantastic. And I love how they stream these free on YouTube. So it's like you really can't complain about the price. As long as you have Wi-Fi, which, I shouldn't say because sometimes Rob and I don't have Wi-Fi. As long as you have Wi-Fi and, YouTube, you can watch these shows for free. And I think the production quality is really good. And they're giving a lot of, that's why it's called New Blood, a lot of the newer stars of not just Stardom, just Joshi wrestling in general, general really good look at. A couple, 1,000 people do watch these shows all over the world. So it's, it's nice publicity for everybody. Nice we get Azumi on this card. I think, again, Miyu Amasaki, we talked about, it seems like ever since her match with Sherry, she's really, really improving. We know she had some starts and stops when she first started because of injuries and whatnot, but it really seems like these last few months, she's really, really coming along, and really happy to see, especially the fact that she's in Queen's Quest. That even puts a bigger smile on my face. But yeah, she's going to be wrestling her tag partner in O2 line, and Azumi just doesn't miss. So it's going to be interesting to see how Miyu is going to adapt, because they're going to be doing some high-speed spots in that match. So it's going to be really cool to see, maybe if she can kind of hang with Azumi a little bit, and if they do some high-speed stuff, if maybe they put Miyu in the high-speed division, come the end of the spring, beginning of the summer. So that'll be interesting. Obviously Rina versus Lady C, I think it's gonna be a great match and I'm really interested to see like the size difference, because Lady C seems like she's about a foot taller than Rina, so it's gonna be interesting to see how they work that, but I'm sure it'll be a show stealer. And then the main event, the Inabe sisters taking on Karma and Starlight Kid. This match was announced at a press conference, and as usual, Rob, nothing good ever happens at a press conference. So they challenged him for the belts, and then Tomoka Inaba decided to turn into Mirko Krokop for all about 3 seconds, and then head kick Starlight Kid for no reason. It's like, you already have the match. Like, you're the baby faces. Starlight Kid is supposed to be the big heel of the Wheedle tie, so why did you cheap shot her with a Krokop head kick? But whatever, it's a Stardom press conference. I always get excited whenever I wake up in the morning. Like, yeah, the Stardom press conference in 30 minutes. I'm like, what debauchery are we going to see next?
Yeah, it was brutal, and clearly Starlight Kid knew something was coming because she stood up as well and looked ready to go. I just don't think she was ready for just how hard Inaba hit her in the head.
What the hell they got for the mask? You know what I mean?
Oh my God, absolutely. The padding in those ears really saved her. She proper staggered. It was hilarious. But yes, we will give a full preview of that match next week, or that card next week. However, let's have a look at the upcoming Stardom pay-per-view, Stardom Flashing Champions 2023 from Ota Ward City Gymnasium. The card is as follows, and what we'll do is we'll sort of talk about who we think is going to win these matches and so on and so forth. We are going to open, and again, the card is subject to change, and also the running order as well might not be quite right. This is just how it's listed on the Stardom website. So we've got Saya Iida and Momo Kohgo taking on the Queen's Quest team of Lady C and Miyu Amasaki. Matt, who do you think is winning that one, and why?
Oh, I know a lot of people are complaining that some of the first few matches are kind of throwaway matches, but this is a good spotlight for all four of these ladies here. I'm going to say Saya Iida and Momo Kohgo. I think maybe Stardom should take advantage of the big pops that Momo Kohgo got here over in the States, and they should maybe run with that just a little bit. But again, as always, Rob, I could be wrong, but I'm going to say Saya Iida and Momo Kohgo pick up the W here.
It would certainly make sense. Both the Stars wrestlers are, in my opinion, the more tenured wrestlers. However, of the four wrestlers, who has got something coming up in the next week? You've got Lady C. So does Lady C get the pinfall over Momo Kohgo? She'll probably get it over Saya Iida because, bless her, they are doing nothing with Saya Iida at the moment. I do think it could be Stars. I'd love for Saya Iida to get the pin, simply to do something with it. I think Momo Kohgo, after a great showing at Resurgence, deserves a little bit of a push as well. I'm going to go for Stars, but it would not surprise me at all if Lady C gets the victory with her her Future of Stardom Championship opportunity against Rena at New Blood the following week. We then move on to another tag team match with the Rebel and Enemy team of Ram Kachau and Mike Ozaki, taking on Syuri and Aya Sakura. Now, this, of all the matches, this one strikes me as the one that is a little bit throwaway, Matt.
Yeah, it is kind of random. You have Syuri in there, who obviously, arguably the best wrestler in the world, just coming off one of the best runs of the World of Stardom champion. You have Aya Sakurai, who, again, these two rookies who just debuted, I'm really impressed with night in, night out, against a team that we really haven't seen since the Triangle Derby with the Rebel and Enemy team. I can see Rebel and Enemy. I'm going to see Rebel and Enemy pick up the win with Aya Sakurai, the rookie, eating the fall. And maybe they're giving the Rebel Enemy team maybe just a little bit of a push. Maybe they'll get a Goddess of Stardom championship match, which, even though I don't think they would win, that'd be a fun little match. The New Eras versus Ozaki and Ram Kachau. So I'm going to say the Rebel and Enemy team get the W on this one.
Yeah, I'm of the same opinion. You've got a rookie in that match, and as intrigued as I am to see the progress of Hanako and Aya Sakura, she's a rookie. She's taking the pin.
That's it. You don't have to deep dive into that one like we always do.
No. So we've then got a Queen's Quest versus Uedatai 6-woman tag match with Utami Hayashishita and Saya Kamatani and Hina taking on the Uedatai team of Rena, Starlight Kid, and Ruaka. I would love for Oedo to win this, for there to be some miscommunication between Utami and Saya, or for there to be some sort of Oedo cheating, which leads to more sort of confrontation between Utami and Saya, maybe with Hina trying to keep the peace, maybe Azumi's at ringside trying to keep the peace between the two. I feel like if you're going to have instigators or people that are willing to poke and prod and sort of poke the sleeping bear, Oedo is certainly the ones to do it, especially younger Oedo. I feel like they're the ones to do it. I feel like even if Queen's Quest win, Oedo can do enough to stoke that fire between Utami and Saya. Ultimately, I do think Queen's Quest are going to win. But it's not the result I'm bothered about. I'm intrigued to see that chemistry between Aphrodite. Is it there? Are Utami and Saya Kamatani going to be able to coexist, or are they going to fall apart even more?
This is interesting because you have Starlight Kid on the opposite side, who's obviously, one of the best in the world, as well as Saya and Utami. So those interactions in the ring will be really, really good. And then, you have that interweaving story, which you're really pulling at my heartstrings, folks. Rossy Ogawa. You can take away Hana's theme song. There it is. If you have that on your bingo card, you can give Natsupoi a potty mouth, and eventually I'll get over it. But if you break up Queen's Quest, oh man, I will be crying if you take away or you crack this faction for me. I agree, Rob, and I think that you figured, okay, well, I'm agree with you. Excuse me, that Queen's Quest is going to win. You figured, okay, Queen's Quest is going to get the W, that it's probably going to be Utami or Saya getting the pinfall. But I say you have Hina pin Rina, and then the next week after her future Stardom Championship match, if she retains, you could have Hina come out and say, "Hey, I beat you last week. I'm next in line," and you can set that up. I think maybe that's a good way to go about it, and I think that's what's going to happen.
It would certainly work, especially as you can build a storyline of Hina being the only one and the last one to get that Future of Stardom belt, especially if Rina beats her and then we sort of do a couple of other challenges and then Hina comes back for that redemption story. I do like that idea. I just think that the more pressing story... you can tell both stories, I suppose, especially with Hina pinning Rina. I like that idea, to be fair. I do like that idea. But I think you could have, especially Starlight Kid, who was already sort of fractured Queen's Quest by stealing Momo Watanabe. It would be very poetic for her to stoke that fire between Utami and Saya as well. We've then got an 8-woman tag team match. We have got the Stars team of Mayu Iwatani, Hazuki Koguma, and Hanan taking on the Club Venus team of Mariah May, Jessie, Xena, and Waka Tsukiyama. This is the program that I think we are going to get with Mariah May. They have been teasing something awful, that Mariah May is going to be the next challenger for Mayu Iwatani's IWGP Women's Championship, because they just seem to have forgotten about the Nene Takahashi challenge. And okay, I think that you could have Mariah May pin Koguma here and then challenge Mayu for the belt at the next pay-per-view. It wouldn't surprise me if that's what they do, especially as that is sort of, you want to keep Club Venus hot and you also want to give Mariah May that chance to challenge, let's say.
Yeah, I totally see. I think that's what they're going to do here. And considering the fact that you have the Stars A-team +1, if you're going to say, okay, well, other than FWC and Mayu, who's the top person at Stars? It's probably Hanan.
Yeah.
So you're literally taking the A-team +1, putting them on this pay-per-view against, pretty much the new kid on the block, the new hot faction. And again, we talk literally every week how much Mariah May is improving. We all love Waka. Xena's really, really been impressing me, and Jessie as well. So I think this would be a nice little shine, win, lose, or draw for this Club Venus team. The fact they're going to be in the ring with, one of the top tag teams in FWC, one of the greatest women's wrestler of all time, still in her prime, Mayu, and then Hana, who, the sky is the limit for her. Not to mention that it's just going to be violence because Suzuki's in the ring. You know what I mean? It doesn't matter. Suzuki's going to be in the ring. She's going to be booting everybody, and poor Club Venus. So it's going to make for something very, very interesting. And I really hope that, because we've seen Xena really been able to throw some really good chops and clotheslines and boots. Hopefully we get some Xena versus Suzuki violence in the match. I think that'll be something that I think can really stand out and really help get Xena over. But yeah, I see Mariah May either getting the fall on either Koguma or Hana here. I just don't think there's any way that Hazuki or Mayu is eating the fall. But at the same point, maybe the fact that it is the A team of stars plus one, maybe they're just like, yeah, they're just way too talented. We're not going to have them lose on pay-per-view. And we might be both totally wrong, which at least we'll stay consistent on the show when it comes to predicting matches, partner.
I mean, to be fair, it wouldn't surprise me if Rossy Ogawa just goes, time limit draw. That's our time limit draw for the show. Although, let's be honest, he aren't going to have two. And it's almost a dead cert that main event's going to want. So we'll see. We'll see. I'm going for a Club Venus win. Like I say, I think they've been building Mariah May. And I think this is the moment they pull the trigger on that first IWGP Women's Championship defense. It'll be interesting as well to see what show that takes place on as well. We've then got a 6-woman tag match with Suzu Suzuki teaming with Maika, which is interesting. Obviously, that Donna Del Mondo connection. Maybe Suzu Suzuki's going to join. And Mei Sarah versus Nene Takahashi, Yuna Mizumori, and Hanako. Nothing to say here. Again, just like before, there is a rookie on the other team. Unfortunately, as good as Hanako is for her experience level, she is 100% eating the pinfall here, and probably to Suzu Suzuki.
Yes, and yes. This again should be a fun match. I'm excited for the violence of Maika versus Nene Takahashi and Suzu Suzuki versus Nene Takahashi as well. And again, Yuna Mizumori is somebody kind of on the few Golden Week shows that have been uploaded. Something that I've been taking like a second look at. I was like, she's kind of just been like somebody that's been solid and good enough on the shows from last year into the beginning of this year. But like these last 4 or 5 shows that are on Stardom World, she's been doing a really good job improving herself and upping her game. And somebody that I've been, really looking forward to her matches. So I expect her to have a good showing here. But yeah, this is going to be this could be another kind of like undercard match that we really look at and said, oh, that match was a lot better than I thought it was going to be. But yeah, and it's gonna be exciting to see what the interweaving story of Suzu Suzuki to Donald Del Mondo is going to be, considering the fact about 2 months ago on the show when we were trying to figure out who was going to be like Himika's replacement in Donald Del Mondo. I did mention 2 names, Saya Ida and Suzu Suzuki. And even when I mentioned Suzu Suzuki, I thought that you like hung up because you were quiet for a very long time and then basically scoffed at me. And now I think you're on board, my friend. You're on board. So there you go. I might be the real influencer over here. So
we then kick into our 4 title matches. We start with a high-speed 3-way with the champion Azumi taking on both Saki Kashima and Fukigen Death. Why we are having this, I'm not entirely sure. It does seem to be a little bit random, especially as it would make sense, or it would have made sense for Mei Sarah to take the belt off Azumi at the previous show. However, here we are. I feel like Fukigen Death is in this position so that Saki doesn't pin Azumi. But we'll see. However, I do feel like Saki's probably going to take the belt here. But I've said that the last 3 times Azumi's defended the high-speed belt, so who knows, Matt? Who knows?
Yeah, I think it's just that they don't want Azumi to eat a pinfall here. Which, I mean, if you're going to crown a champion, crown them. You know what I mean? That's like when they did Mina versus Saya at the All-Star Grand Queendom and like, let's just put, Mei Sakurai in there. And then Mina pins Mei Sakurai and that's how we end the historic reign of Saya Kamatani. So I think if Azumi should lose this belt, she should lose it. But I think that, yeah, Saki Kashima, and I understand you're gonna kind of protect Azumi. You already have some cracks in Queen's Quest with Saya and Utami. So if she gets pinned here, you put another crack in there. But I think she's so talented that a loss really wouldn't hurt her. But I think what's going to happen is Saki's going to pin Fukin Death. She's going to be a transitional champion, and probably within 6 to 8 weeks time, she's going to lose it to Mei Sarah. I think that's what they're going to do. And my pick on this one is the Saki to pin Fukin Death. I think that's the way they're going to go.
Yep, I'm the exact same there, brother. I think that's exactly what's going to happen.
So you know what that means? Time limit draw.
Absolutely. Fukin Death for high speed champion. It's a multi-woman, man. Like, we've said this before.
Yeah.
Goddess of Stardom Tag Team Championships on the line. The New Eras looking to make their second successful title defense. The team of Mirai and Amisori taking on the Uenetai team of Natsuko Tora and Momo Watanabe. As good as Natsuko Tora and Momo are, and as good a chemistry as they showed on that one show that's been uploaded to Stardom World, I do think that the New Eras are probably going to retain here.
Yeah, it's kind of almost like a makeshift team of Momo and Tora. But again, like the little bit we've seen of them have been great. They only had like a 7-8 minute match with Shiri and Konami on the last pay-per-view, which was great. Again, I mentioned a handful of minutes ago how great they are as a team in these multi-person tag matches. So yeah, this is going to be, I think, an easy one to predict. I think Mirai and Ami retain, but I think it's going to be so good. You have 4 badass, hard-hitting women that all work very, very well together, and I'm super excited for the violence that this match is going to have. Yeah, and again, it's Momo Watanabe in a championship match. Yes, please. I think her and Mirai, the violence that the two of them are going to have, I'm really, really looking forward to it. Again, this is going to be a great match, but I highly doubt we're going to see new champions here.
Yeah, I would be incredibly surprised. Don't get me wrong, I'd love to see Tora with championship gold, especially after the way her Red Bell match with Utami ended, but yeah, I don't see it here. Though we are still, and it is worth pointing out, we are still without Mirai having cashed in that Cinderella dream. We still don't know what belt she is going for, so it's worth keeping an eye on there. In the semi-main event, at least as it is on the running order on Stardom, on the Stardom website, we have got Restart, the champions, the Artist of Stardom champions, Kairi, Amisori, Saori Anu, Natsupoi taking on the Barry Bombers team of Julia, Mei Sakurai, and Tekla. Again, as good as this match is going to be, we're finally getting Kairi and Julia in the same ring. We're getting Natsupoi and Tekla again. We're getting Kairi and Mei Sakurai in the battle of the diving elbow drops.
Damn it. I literally had a note here that I have a note that we talked about this to rib Rob on Mei Sakurai teaching Kairi how to do the elbow, because there's no way with all of the stories going into this match that you're going to bring it up. And as always, partner, you're reading my mind, brother.
Imagine the scenes when her ladyship pins the pirate princess's shoulders to the mat after delivering that utter shambles of an elbow drop.
She should pin her like the Ultimate Warrior pinned Randy Savage at WrestleMania 7 with putting the duster jacket on and putting one foot on. She takes Kairi's pirate hat, puts it on, and then pins her in the ring with one foot, and then they have to cart Kairi out on a stretcher.
Absolutely. She's not seen for a year, selling the injury.
After we all got so excited, because she's like, yeah, I want to work way many more Stardom matches, and then we don't see her after a year. Mei Sakurai becomes the biggest heel in the history of Stardom. And
then imagine when Kairi does eventually come back, it's like when Saki was facing Syuri and was literally just too scared to get in the ring. Yeah.
Oh, man. Don't let us book.
No, never let us book. But Kairi's 100% pinning Mei Sakurai here. There's no chance Julia's eating the pin. I mean, they might have Tekla. They might have Tekla eat the pin, but I'm pretty sure Mei Sakurai could eat the pin and then steal the microphone from the champions to deliver one of her promos. either way, Restart's keeping the belt. Like,
yes, yeah, absolutely. So you think Kairi is going to be the one doing the pinning?
it's not a lock, but I mean,
Just to be different. Just to be different. Who do you think is going to take the pin? Are going to give the pin? I'm sorry.
yeah, Kairi.
Okay, I'm going to say Soria No, just to be different.
Okay, I mean, to be fair, Restart look like a badass team.
Yeah.
And I'd quite like them to keep the belts for a bit. Gives Kairi something to do, gets Kairi on more shows, shows a little bit of unity in Cosmic Angels. We don't need two factions that are breaking up at the same time in Queen's Quest and Cosmic Angels, so just keep that unity with Natsupoi and Saori Nu, and just basically the entire Cosmic Angels having a belt. At least for now, because in our main event, we have the double championship match, the World of Stardom and Wonder of Stardom championship match. Tam Nakano, the World of Stardom champion. Don't know how I said world then, the world, taking on the Wonder of Stardom champion, Mina Shirakawa, in a double championship match. In the first time the red and white belt champions have faced off in a double championship match since Momo Watanabe and Kagetsu in 2018. So a little bit of a stat there for you. And that went to a time limit draw. So make of that what you will. Matt, I'm not going for a time limit draw here.
What are you going for? Because I was going for something different. What are you going for? You pick first, sir.
Double count out.
I'm saying double knockout.
Yeah,
I think a double knock. I think because obviously Tam hits hard, Mina hits hard. They're doing a great job building up the violence between the two. I think everybody thinks it's going to go to a 30-minute time limit draw. I don't know if the two of them can carry a match to 30 minutes. We haven't seen Mina go 30 minutes. I know the Mayu Tam match for the wipeout that went 30 minutes. It might have been a little bit too long and overstayed its welcome, although it was a great match. Don't get me wrong. But I even think that you wrote in your book about it. Maybe if it was a 25-minute match, it would have been better. And you might be saying, Matt, I'm a first-time listener to this podcast. What book are you talking about? And I'm talking about Living the Dream, Stardom's 10th anniversary in review by my good friend, Rob Goodwin. Maybe they do go to a 30-minute time limit draw, and the two of them can carry a match 30 minutes, and it's just fantastic, which I'd be happy for. But I'm going to say the double knockout. However, I did have a few people send me messages and questions asking, do you nobody expects somebody to walk out with both belts. It would just be, that's one thing Stardom doesn't do. Obviously, I know Mayu did it, a handful of years ago, but these two ladies just won their respective titles. But some people were thinking, what about a disqualification where the match gets thrown out, where the new aggressive DDM come in? And I'm like, well, that's a possibility. However, Stardom really doesn't do that to end a pay-per-view. However, if they're going to do it, I think it would be with Oedo Tai, because even though the shows have not been uploaded yet from Golden Week, there has been pictures of Starlight Kid on top of Tam with holding the red belt, and Starlight Kid choking Mina out with the white belt. Or I might have that reversed, but regardless, they've been teasing Starlight Kid kind of beating up the red belt champion and taunting her with her own belt, and with Mina with the white belt champion. So maybe that's an avenue they go down, where Oedo Tai comes in and causes the double disqualification to build Starlight Kid up to maybe challenge for one of, if not both belts. I don't think anybody would be disappointed with Starlight Kid challenging Mina for the Wonder, and then somewhere down the line, Starlight Kid challenging Tam for the World, which you did say, partner, that you thought Starlight Kid would be one of Tam's first feuds. So, take that with a grain of salt. It's a possibility they can go down, but I'm going to say this one ends in a double KO.
I'd be surprised if they throw any sort of shenanigans in there like that, simply because it's not a divisive main event as such, but with the finish being so telegraphed, and you do run the risk of it hitting a bit like a wet fart, for lack of a better word, to then have the pay-per-view end with a Oedo Tai interference, I think would send people home pretty unhappy. I do like the idea of the double knockout. Obviously, Mina is going to be extremely motivated because it's been said that her father's going to be in the crowd for this show. He was against her being a pro wrestler, and she wants to prove to him that, you know, that she is good at what she does, and to show him how far she's come. I think for her then to be pinned clean would be a little bit of a kick in the teeth. I don't think either woman loses their belt, as I've already said. I think if, you know, there's so much animosity in history between these two, you can fuel a double knockout, you can fuel a double count out by literally them just hitting each other too hard. And if you did do something along the lines of a Syuri and Utami sort of finish where they literally just beat each other until they can't get up, I feel like that would be more cathartic than going the 30-minute time, because you make a very, very good point. Mina's never gone 30 minutes before, and even though she has hugely improved, you know, it's an untested entity. How well would she be able to do that? Tam doesn't have the greatest record when going 30 minutes. So it'd be interesting to see it go maybe 27, you know, I know that's still only 3 minutes, but, you know, 25 maybe. And then the double knockout or the double count out as they're both KO'd on the outside. Something like that. Either way, this is a draw. It'll just be a case of how they do the draw without it feeling like a disappointing finish to the pay-per-view. I feel like that's the big thing. Not the result, though again, we did say this at the start, at the end of the last pay-per-view, when we said that Tam's definitely not winning, and then Tam ended up winning. So I'm intrigued to know what they're going to do here, or how they're going to manufacture it so it's not disappointing.
To be fair, the last pay-per-view, Rob, was Mina and Natsupoi, and we both had Mina winning. So we're on a hot streak, buddy. We got that main event right. So we're going into this one with some momentum. Stardom doesn't, even though if you may not like who comes out on top, if your favorite wrestler, you know, loses in the main event, they usually deliver a pretty satisfying main event and a booking decision that makes really, really good sense. So I'm interested to see how they're going to kind of get out of this one. Again, I understand why they did it. Both these ladies are super, super hot at the moment. Again, coming off the biggest show in Stardom history, arguably the two, you know, biggest MVPs of that show. So again, it makes sense. Yeah, it's going to be interesting. Stardom's booking has been, you know, pretty rock solid the last 2.5, 3 years. So it's interesting to see, you know, they kind of booked themselves in a corner. But again, Rossy Ogawa and the Stardom brass would have not have booked this match if they did not have a pretty airtight, sealed plan to finish it. So I'm really interested to see how this one's going to end. And but the match, I mean, let's obviously we talked about champion versus champion, how it's going to end, interference. Let's get it out of the way. This is going to be, you know, absolute barn burner, hard hitting, head dropping, you know, great psychology, great building of a match. This match is going to be fantastic, and I'm really, really looking forward to it.
Yeah, the emotion is certainly going to be running high in this match, and that's what it needs to be. If you have got a draw of some description, you need to feel like it's earned. You don't just want your bog standard match and then it going to a double knockout. If you're doing something like that, it needs to be ferocious. It needs to have so much visceral anger behind it. So we'll see how that goes. I am intrigued to see how they get out of this booking corner they've put themselves in. Final question, Matt. Obviously, this is going to be at Otaward City Gymnasium in Tokyo. The last time Stardom ran Flashing Champions at the venue, they drew 1,871 people. One word, under or over that for the 2023 Flashing Champions?
That's a big number, but I'm going to say over. Two reasons why. Again, Stardom is red hot, especially coming off the giant pay-per-view. And two, from what I understand, is the people at Bushi Road, the brass at Bushi Road, are super, super high on Tam as champion. From what I understand is the Golden Week. They sold a ton of merchandise and a ton of tickets. And they said a lot of it has to do with who's on top. And that would be one Tam Nakano, which we'll get into the draw of Tam Nakano for the Stardom cast in just a few seconds as I go to close out the show. So I'm going to say they do over 1,800 people.
Okay. Do you know what? I'm going to be confident. I reckon they do just over 2,000, shade over 2,000, maybe 2,050, something like that.
There we go.
The tickets at the moment, there's no huge movement. I think there's only two sections that are sold out. The VIP front row and the family stand. So we'll see what the ticket sales are like a little bit close to the time. I know that we're still 3 days away, so tickets can move. But yeah, I'm quietly confident we'll see though. And that, ladies and gentlemen, brings us to the end of this episode. Matt, a relatively svelte episode. And I say that, it's 1 hour 40, so we've still managed to exceed an hour and a half, and I don't know how. But there we are. Thank you, everyone, for listening. We massively, massively appreciate it. If you haven't subscribed yet to the podcast, you can find us wherever you get your podcasts. We are everywhere. Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google Podcasts, Amazon Music. We are literally everywhere. It really, really helps us out if you leave us a 5-star review on Apple Podcast. It just helps us get exposed to a few more people and just basically gets the podcast out to more people. Thank you to everyone over at patreon.com/the Stardomcast. Your support's been invaluable. We outlined at the start of the show just how much we've got coming your way over the months of May and June. If you haven't subscribed yet, you can for as little as $1 a month. If you want to find us on Twitter or social media, it's at the Stardomcast. You can talk to me on Twitter at RealRobGoodwin. Check out the website www.thestardomcast.com. Matt, plug your stuff and sign us off, good friend.
Absolutely. I just mentioned about a minute ago that One Tam Nakano is starting to be a big draw for here at the Stardom Cast. And what I mean by that is the logo number, I think 7 or 8 for us, I just put on social media, and is red belt champion Tam Nakano. As soon as I put that up, I had many messages asking when that will be a sticker and or a t-shirt. The stickers are ordered as soon as they come in. I'll just make sure the quality of the stickers are good, and then I will put up a pricing, and we will go from there. And then once the shirts are available on the website, I will definitely let everybody know. So again, appreciate the support. Super excited to see all the fancy merch that comes out from the Cosmic Angel herself, One Tam Nakano. Any questions, comments, folks, hit me up on Twitter and or the Instagram at Matt Turner OF is the best way to get a hold of me there. Social media is not your thing, or would you rather send an email? By all means, the StardomCast22@gmail.com is the best way to get a hold of me via the email. Folks, as always, we cannot say thank you enough. Really appreciate the support and the love that you've shown from the show. We could not do this without you. It's like I always say, folks, it's just not my podcast. It's our podcast, because we're always together and everybody's different. Everybody's special.